Okay, this is going to be my reaction to Just Pearly Things addressing the Fuentes interview. I wanted to actually speak on this a few days after I had to work this week. It's been a busy week, but I am thankful that I did wait because I have to admit, everybody had their opinion, and it gave me a chance to see everybody's opinion on this. And interesting enough, like most people would, she apologized. Now, I'm not gonna lie. After I saw the comments and I heard how everybody felt, I felt like she didn't need to apologize for very much of what people were saying about her. And I addressed my feelings about it and my expressions about it in the comment section on her channel. So here I am making a reaction video to her apology video because there's some things that I wanted to speak on that she brought up that I feel that she didn't necessarily need to open up about, because some of this was common sense, some of it in comparison to what I've heard, it's a bit biased. So, be honest, we're gonna have to get into this because I'm gonna speak on a black perspective from a white experience and a black experience and a worldly experience. Because honestly speaking, in this world where we have the internet, we have got to have an open mind. We have got to respect everybody's lingo, especially the black community who have the tendency to make up words and want to make it sound cool. And half the time people don't even know what they're talking about. So why is it when other cultures use certain words, most of it is intelligent, we act like we don't know what they're talking about? Or we say it's racist or it's biased. Like, we're gonna get into this because honestly, this is ridiculous. Because she is actually putting in work and addressing topics that I highly agree with. And when people have radical um, extremists or radical people with views, they're just trying to understand what their view is so everybody can understand what their view is, and so they can have an opinion on what to do and how to deal with people like that, not to like put them down, cut them up. Like, seriously, you gotta know who your enemies are. If you don't know who your enemies are, how are you gonna defend yourself? Like, seriously, how are you gonna defend yourself? That's what I don't understand. We, it's just crazy. So we're gonna get into this. So first topic that she tries to apologize on.
My Africans, that part. So in the heat of the conversation, I made some remarks to my producer Blessing. Now Blessing is a godsend. Okay, Blessing has made the production quality literally phenomenal. He's so talented. And during this conversation, we were talking about immigration, and I said, I'm trying to get my Africans to America. Now, I watched it back, guys. It was so cringy. Oh my gosh, it was so embarrassing. I I met my African employees.
Okay, so one of the things I'm going to talk about that she apologizes for is she mentions that she is trying to get her Africans to America. Now, honestly, I don't know what the problem is with her saying that. I mean, hell, the amount of slang we say in the black community outweighs what everybody else says. For one, I have no issues with her calling them Africans because guess what? That's what they are, Africans. If they live in the UK, they call British Africans. If they're in America, sadly to say, half the time y'all don't even try to figure out what nationality they are. You just basically want to say, oh, they're black. Like you just generalize anybody our skin color, light or dark, black. You can run into a Honduran and you'd be like, oh yeah, he's black. Like, you know, to me personally, labeling everybody who's brown black without any understanding their national or cultural background is ridiculous and disrespectful. Just real talk. Like, she was just using the short version, a short form, or in text lingo, a shorthand version of her cultural employees, Africans. Like, wait, what's the problem there? I don't get it. But, you know, the black Americans, of course, and whoever else was involved wanted to put her down for saying that. Like, I mean, why does she have to explain that? Like, real talk, why? I mean, and what kills me, if she was to say the N word, y'all would just go ham on her. Y'all would just light her up. Literally. Y'all would just light her up. So it's like if she was brown or black and she said, my Africans, y'all wouldn't have nothing to say. Nothing. It's just sad. It's sad. It's just pathetic. So let's see what else she has to say, and I'm gonna speak my opinion about it.
Oh, the joke about Blessing being late.
Okay, so this is I'm gonna be honest. She tries to apologize about the joke about her producer Blessing being late, and when I heard her apology about the joke between her and Nick, and to be honest, when he made the comment like, oh, you know, that's right, I'm not late, he's late. Like I don't understand what the issue was with that. Because if he understood the joke behind the scenes, then all he was trying to do was make a sarcastic comment or remark to a joke she used to talk about that he brought up. And to be honest, I don't see what was wrong with that. Especially, and I'm going to say this honestly, black people in America, y'all know who y'all are. Y'all be the main ones late for work. Trust me, and I can clearly speak on this because I work with some of you guys who be late to work almost every day, making the person who's on time work their asses off until you get there, and then y'all be the first one want to be leaving early before everybody else. Or I love this one, y'all late for work, and then all of a sudden you got an issue, you got to leave early. You got to clock out an hour or two early because like that's one thing y'all should not even speak on, being late, or anybody joking about being late, because there's been a lot of black comedians who have joked about black people being late to events. So that should not have been something she needed to apologize for. I mean, real talk. I'm sorry. If her producer Blessing was making a joke to her himself, and she told it to Nick, and he was trying to just kind of sarcastically swing it back around with no offense, y'all need to just keep that out your mouth, because y'all know who you guys are. Y'all know who you are. Y'all be late to work. Half the time y'all don't even show up. All right, let's look at the next one, because like I can't wait till I get to the last. It's just, this is crazy.
My intention was never to be, a quote unquote leader in the black manosphere or the manosphere in general. I really have always just looked at the men as the leader. I mean, they're the thought leaders.
I'm gonna have to be honest. And this is where things get really ungrateful. I'm gonna have to say, like, those who complain and put her down about using the black culture, using black people in the production room for her studio, this, that, and the third. First of all, most of her team, I'm pretty sure, African. And if I'm correct, she has mentioned they're African, not black American, not British, African, African. So the African people don't even associate with black Americans. They, you know what I'm saying? And if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, you should actually talk to a few Africans, because I have some African friends, and they'll tell you, like, our culture is kind of effed up. Well, you know, I'm not gonna go into that. I have some good African friends, and I'm gonna be honest. I've learned more from them than I've learned from my own culture. Just real talk. And second, if you can't be satisfied or thankful that at least some of these guys are getting an opportunity when they can't by anyone outside their culture, I don't know what in God's name is wrong. Because half of y'all who are complaining or have been complaining, probably you guys are not getting any further than where you are. I'm gonna be honest. I myself, I was put in the white community real young, and I've gotten really far because of the white community. I didn't have to suck anybody's. I didn't have to do nothing special. I didn't have to kiss ass. I just did what I needed to do. I worked hard. I had a good demeanor. I put on a good image. I was respectful. And in turn, I was shown the same thing back. So, real, just that should not have not been an apology. Really, she should. That why you have her apologizing for that, I have no idea. That's some pure ungratefulness from the black cultural community. That's just period. That's just ridiculous. That that's pure ungratefulness. Like, seriously, just ungratefulness. And I've seen a lot of ungrateful people come on jobs, acting ass, and then leave. And with to black Americans and other, we're privileged. Like, we're not in slavery times anymore. We're not in segregation. We're not being held back as most people claim. It's what you do with your life. Like, I have not been held back throughout my life. May have ran into obstacles, but as long as I stood my ground and I proved my worth, I have been excelled or accelerated. I have been offered a great many positions that most black or brown Americans or any other would not be offered. And I've turned them down because it just wasn't my forte. Just wasn't. I'm satisfied where I am going. And I will tell you this, I have such an aptitude in some of the things that is predominantly white. There's a line of jealousy. But I tell you what, as long as I prove that I know what I know, and I prove that I'm wise in those areas, I do garner respect. Straight up. And I'm not going to complain about who puts me where, this, that, and third, or whatever. It's a waste of time to be complaining when there's people out there, there's other minorities who have to work 4 times as hard to get where they got to go. Period. Oh, and one more thing. One more thing. Those of you who have an issue with her saying or being a leader y'all. Let me explain something to you guys. Men and women throughout the dawn of time have had leadership roles. Men more than women. It's proven. Anybody who knows the good book or the Bible, it's in the Bible. They have women who were queens and leaders. One of my favorite female role models in history of all time was Joan of Arc. And the reason why she struck a chord with me, because she was one of the few females, besides a few others, and actually I finally got to watch the movie Woman King. That's a good movie actually, but that's another topic. But Joan of Arc is one of those figures in history that stood up for what she believed in, garnered a following in the time of war, and led an army of men who didn't really believe in her but wanted freedom. And she won multiple wars in the Battle of New Orleans. A man's role. A man's role. The sad thing about this story is, and this is what struck a chord with me, was she was so successful, but yet hated with so much jealousy that men took her down with pure criticism and won the crowd that supported her until they burned her on a stake. She was a leader, a respectable leader, and that's why her name rings to this day. You'll see her name throughout all mythical legends, games, whatever. Joan of Arc. I think there's a statue of her. There is nothing wrong with a woman being a leader in something. They have roles that they're good at. They have leadership abilities that they're good at. And if men feel comfortable in working under a woman because they trust their leadership, they trust their mindset, what is wrong with that? And just because she, here we go again, gave opportunities to African people to work and garner a name under her platform, and she's leading these people as a unit, as a team, in a successful manner, what is wrong with that? Honestly speaking, like I don't. I've worked under women. I've had no issues with it. None. I have issues with certain ones, and I'm not going to speak on that on this video. I'm going to talk on that later. I got a video topic on that later down the road. But in all hindsight, the way that you have treated JustPearlyThings on a scenario that she tried her best to bring us some informational content that can be controversial. That was controversial. Like every other person has brought on controversial people. I mean, let's talk about Kanye West. He totally embarrassed the crew of drink champs. I mean, seriously. Honestly, I'm going to say this. Pearl, to me, after this whole scenario, is like Joan of Arc. She is the Joan of Arc of podcast. Because you guys are just killing her. And to make her pour out her heart and apologize to make you all happy is honorable, but it's sad because I feel like she don't need to apologize for half of the stuff that went down. Like there shouldn't be no explanation. And honestly, why does she have to explain why and how she's running her podcast to anybody? Do you see anybody, you know, exposing who their team is and their cast is behind the screen? Half the time, you don't even know who's behind the camera, who's running the soundboards, who's, you know what I'm saying, who's doing the video editing. You might hear them get a couple of props here and there, but that's it. They're supposed to be behind the scenes. Keyword behind, invisible. So all the focus is on the 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 entertainer and the cast and the guest. Why does she have to explain all this?
So I said that slavery was embellished in the interview. Now that not only is that comment insensitive, it's not accurate. There were things in slavery that were worse than what was shown on TV. What I was referring to, I don't even want to tell you guys what I was trying to say because it wasn't what came out and it doesn't even matter. Again, if you watch the full thing, I was more referring to the system.
I was waiting to get to this one. I was waiting. She actually said that slavery was embellished. Blah, 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 blah. As much as black people have talked about slavery, the effects of it, the horrors and this, that, and the other. As much as, if anyone has paid attention, black and brown Hollywood actors and actresses have said how much Hollywood has been biased towards black actors and actresses. Maybe some of you may need to know what the word embellish means, because it's obvious that you guys don't know. It's obvious you guys don't know why she said it, yet she had to explain herself. I'm going to explain to you why she said it in my version. Let's start with the definition. Embellished. Make something more attractive by the addition of decorative details of or features. What do movies do? What do shows do? They tend to make things decoratively full of effects, drama, exaggerated storytelling, and exaggerated features. A lot of stuff we watch that's supposed to be non-fictional in some form or fashion is either edited with details that need to be explained out, because they do edit those details out, and then they embellish some things to make it look I don't know, sensitive for Americans to deal with. Because honestly, I watch a lot of foreign film, I watch a lot of American film, and I have to say, we have a habit of embellishing our content so we won't be, I don't know, to me, there's no word for it. We're sensitive. Like, as Americans, we're sensitive to content. It's like we can't handle anything beyond what we consider rated R. Like, our rated R is nothing in compared to what other countries put in their films. Like, they make their films pretty much realistic. R-rated, realistic. That's their version of rated R. But That's what embellish means. So, with that being said, what she said about slavery is true. And yes, I am going to get some kickback and clapback for saying that, but she was telling the truth. I don't care who don't like what I just said. I'm going to say it again. She was telling the truth. I'm going to give you an example of why she was telling the truth. It just so happened I was looking up something on Black female empowerment. Funny story, and you guys can look this up. The title Mammy was used in a lot of female-related slaves and slave owners' households. It was a depiction of a black slave woman taking care of those slave masters' children and the household chores. This is what Hollywood decided to do with that ideology. The mammy was the female slave who was responsible for household activity and often taking care of white children and slave children. She could be seen as the first example of the strong black woman's schema due to her endless responsibilities and expectations to provide and care without complaint. This stereotype outlived slavery and can be seen across popular media forms such as the movie Gone with the Wind. There's the first part of it. It gets rich in the article as you read more. D.W. Griffith's 1915 film, The Birth of a Nation, where the mammy figure defends her master's plantation during the Civil War, was the misrepresentation of these mammy figures in the media, trying to show these women as happy house slaves that enjoy serving their master and mistresses. This false narrative is used as a way to legitimize slavery and white supremacy. In other words, embellished black entertainment in Hollywood. You know, for the life of me, I don't understand when people put out facts to support the black culture as it is, or as it were. I don't understand why we're calling ourselves a culture in the first place when we live in America. Like, you know, that's as racist as a white supremacist, because we got Latinos, we got Native Americans who were here first. We have the Asians, we have the Indians, we have the Europeans. I can go down the list. And here we are calling ourselves a culture, but we don't understand what embellishment means when it comes to our media, our history in media. Here is a Caucasian woman who is reading about our stories, our history, and notices what the authors and the content creators have been doing with our history. And you guys just light her ass up because she used a word that you can't even comprehend or understand, let alone look in the fucking dictionary to find out what she meant in the first place. Y'all just pop off. When I first heard what she said, I didn't have to look at it. I already knew what she meant, because I already knew from day one that Hollywood was sugarcoating our entertainment. It's one of the reasons why I do not care for our black entertainment. I don't really watch black entertainment. I don't really care for half of the movies. I don't care for half of the TV shows because a lot of it is imitations of the white culture. There's not a lot of it that's original. If you kind of put our entertainment side by side with the white entertainment that's already been done, you'll see similarities. There's only a few movies that had some original content, and to be honest, most of them were gangster movies. I mean, seriously. So, at the end of the day, Pearl did not have to apologize for hardly anything except maybe inviting Nick Fuentes on her show. But at the same time, the person that he was truly offending, from what I saw, had already stood their ground and clapped back. So if that person had already stood their ground, and then the person he was referring to, that was her boyfriend, actually made a video clapping back, because I watched his video, then why, like, why are we still having negative comments about the whole scenario when half of y'all don't understand what the situation is, was, ever will be, because you guys are not smart. You guys are not even properly educated beyond what you want to think is educated. And maybe you know, maybe y'all have a lot to learn. I mean, seriously, y'all have a lot to learn. A lot. The very people that are actually backing us up, who are actually had their forefather generation give our so-called slave generation their freedom, because they didn't have to do that. They could have just sent their asses right back across that ocean, back to Africa, where, honestly, if you actually do your history, a lot of those African countries were warring with each other anyway. Half of them were enslaving the other territories they conquered. And if you actually dive deeper, you would have found out most of those countries sold some of the slaves they captured to the Europeans. In fact, watch Woman King. You'll find out in that movie. Just watch that movie. That's actually a good movie. That's a really good movie. And I bet half of y'all didn't even watch it. I promise you. Y'all probably ran to watch fucking Black Panther and Black Panther 2, with both of them were trash. Both those movies were trash. I'm sorry. It was just trash. But I guarantee you, half of y'all didn't even bother to see Woman King. Because if y'all did, y'all would have found out there's another thing that's embellished, a misrepresentation of the Amazon women. That is highly embellished. You'd be surprised who were the actual true Amazon women, and who actually was taking women from Africa and shipping them to another part of America. I just gave you a hint. If you guys couldn't figure that out, I don't know what else to tell you. You know, I'm done. Like, to be honest, Ms. Pearl, this is to you. You had no reasons to apologize. You basically, out the kindness of your heart, bent the knee and bowed down to a bunch of ungrateful. I'm gonna be nice about it, but you just bent the knee to a bunch of ungrateful people who just have no sense of common sense of what racism is. They just don't, and they're just ungrateful. You keep doing what you're doing. You keep doing the good work you're doing. Keep supporting whoever you want to support. You keep uplifting whoever you want to uplift, and giving whoever you want to give a chance. Because, to be honest, in all aspect, what you're doing is a sign of a true leader. It's a true leader, because leaders have to take care of the people they have underneath them. Leaders have to take responsibility and accountability for their people. What you did, yes, you took accountability, but there was this a point where you didn't have to go that far. You didn't. There's ways you could, I mean, even if you was to interview somebody else controversial, there's ways to actually put the interview online. It's not that hard to figure out what to do. I could tell you how to do it, but it's not that hard. You can still put a controversial person on TV and just have certain snippets of very informative information that they're talking about. Because honestly, the clips I've seen about Nick Fuentes' interview, it was very informative. There were some things I didn't quite clearly know, but I understood there was some hidden innuendo behind what was going on in the Middle East and in politics. So, I think, I personally think it was a good risk. We all got the good stuff out of it. Those who didn't, y'all stupid. Y'all just blind, fully racially stupid. That's just the bottom line. Just dumb.
Gotcha, bitch!